past called PTE tax.
PTE?
Yeah, it's called pass-through entities tax. Now, this is the only tax I know where you volunteer to pay it. How expensive is it? I'm sorry.
Calling order, this
Volunteer.
meeting of the
I'll
city
explain all
council,
this.
December 28th, 2022. Please call the roll.
Mr. Knoll? Ms. Atrap?
Here.
Ms. Weltman?
Here.
Mr. Daga?
Here.
Mr. Lemay?
Here.
Mr. Gentili?
Here.
Dr. Wong?
Okay,
We should get extra.
we'll begin with our final pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Mr. Mayor, Scarlett wasn't cute enough to retain your presence?
Mommy got a fever, so
Oh,
Grandma and Grandpa decided, we're not gonna spend that.
You can take Scarlett with you.
That was an option suggested. She was kind of poor.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine.
She turns 3 this weekend.
Wow. Well, it's unlimited candy and ice cream from you, right? So what's not to like?
What's not to like that? Alrighty, we are here this evening for really a single item for the adoption of our end of year appropriations amendment or additional appropriation ordinance 2022-32. Joe, I turn it to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Like the mayor just said, this is our annual cleanup ordinance. The first grouping on the left are the original budget plus any amendments that we have made year to date. The center section, which are the additional requests, is what we're focusing on. And then that gives us our final current year budget. And I don't know if you have any questions on the council explanation page, or I could go through them.
Is there any here that are not insignificant that we haven't discussed through the years? In obvious ones there's obvious ones, there's several of these I remember discussing as we went down. I wonder if there's any in the last few weeks you found something new, different, surprising?
Nothing, I mean, in the last few weeks that would have jumped out. We fine tuned it. During the budget times, we were talking about advancing $1 million from the general fund. But based on the funds that were within the capital projects funds, that money's not spent, that got pared down to 800,000. Throughout the year, we had come to council, at the beginning of the year, well, it's the tail end of last year, but the budget had already been approved. There was a discussion with council about finishing out the women's locker rooms within the police renovation, which was not part of the original scope of the project. It was determined that we should do that, so those costs are there. We came earlier in the year to jump on the chassis for the Packer, for the solid waste truck. In the 23 budget, we've left those costs off. We came down earlier with the city complex cameras. Police cars was another similar thing when Ford killed our order. We jumped early. We don't have any budgeted for 23. And then we talked pretty much at length on how the Shaker project numbers came in. The stormwater piece was higher, sewer piece was higher. So we're making allotments for those.
so if I, in my simple way, try to read this, Joe, if I'm right, on the middle section in the personal service, all we are doing is primarily moving money from service to solid waste. Substantively, that's all the significant change in that area.
Correct.
When we go to the additional requests, the two items in the other operation, the 1,250,000 and 800,000, which again accounts for much of it, is basically just a transfer. One is emergency and one is as
Permanent.
permanent, okay?
And that And what we said is that for 23, we won't have those numbers in there.
Okay.
So we just bought it early.
But those are both transfers, it's one pocket to the other. It's
Yeah,
not-
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But I just want.
Yeah, but you have to
Do
delineate
that.
that because you can't
Understood,
pull a transfer
understood.
back. You
It's
can't
not a
do it.
surprise bill for $1 million,
No.
you're just. moving-
Right.
I don't believe there's anything in this explanation that we have not discussed. At some point during.
I just have a
Surprised
question
me.
about the Rita. It's 123,000 additional.
Not all Rita. Rita's a chunk of it.
Okay.
There's also all the special events.
Oh.
That, we hadn't done for several years.
Do you know how much
And
of it is the Rita?
Huh?
Do you know roughly how much is Rita?
I could get that for you.
Okay. And do you know what the percentage is that we pay Rita now?
I want it a little less than 2.
Listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a variable rate. They base it on their
Yeah.
costs, and it changes from year to year. It's not a fixed.
Tony, may I know where you are, which page are you looking at?
I'm looking at the second. page.
Explanation?
Explanation.
I just want to be in the same place.
Yeah, if you could shoot those along.
Yeah.
Just curious.
So,
Joe, the net on this is the total. I'm just trying to piece this together. So the total original budget in the final column, total column is 22.2. And the total in the next column is 26.0. So it's 3.8 million.
this gets counted twice. That's the
Which
trouble. This gets,
this
and
and
then this
this.
gets, and that explains. it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's the
Kind
the
of-
governmental accounting,
Right.
counted twice.
Okay. Yeah, that's the reconciliation I needed because it didn't work otherwise. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Makes us look more
Yeah, that,
bigger
that's,
budget than in reality.
Yeah,
We're counting
it
the same
is.
thing
yeah,
twice.
right.
What is that again?
No, I'm saying when we look at transfers from operation to capital, it adds to both sides in the budget.
It's an
So what
expense
Jim
in the
was doing
general
was he was
fund
looking
and then an expense in a capital
How did
project.
22 became 26?
Right.
You know, that's a $4 million increase suddenly. What the heck did we miss?
Yeah.
Well, really, 3 million of that, or almost 3 of that is these things that get counted on both sides. They get counted twice, in other words.
Yeah.
So they don't have the eliminations that we will have in a consolidated statement,
Right.
unfortunately.
Right.
I'm looking for the numbers that are in there twice.
No, if you look at the 2 items, Tony, in the middle column.
Yeah.
The 1,250,000 and 800.
Mhm.
That makes the budget look larger, and then the same number gets counted again in the next column at the very bottom, the 1,368,000.
Oh, it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, it's not exactly same, but it's
Yeah, okay.
substantively.
That's
That's
I
what
thought it was exactly the same number. That's right.
Yeah.
It's the general fund and then these out funds,
Exactly.
and they counted on both
Both
sides.
sides. Yeah, if we were to look at this, my God, we planned on spending
Right.
22 million, we're spending 26, what the heck went wrong?
Yeah,
It's really,
I have no other question?
No.
I have no other question.
Council members on this one? Any questions?
right wing has taken over. man. I didn't say. This last meeting of the year, gotta have fun. I feel very festive.
Why don't we
All right.
have short instead of fun?
Huh?
What do we have short instead of fun?
Which is the same thing.
Should we have a motion then, to suspend? I
So
think we
moved.
need to suspend this.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Atruk?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Daga?
Yes,
Mr. Lemay?
Yes,
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Alrighty, and a motion to adopt, ordinance 2022-32.
so moved.
second,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Atruk?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Mr. Daga?
Yes,
Mr. Lemay?
yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. We accomplished what we needed to do. Mr. Brzezinski and his bond feel secure.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from any committees or department heads who have not reported this month where we've had a meeting. Did we have a? planning meeting? You weren't here last time, we didn't report on it. Did we have one
It was,
beginning of January?
the country club,
Oh, yeah.
and there was one more item.
I can speak to the country club
Okay.
if you need to.
Either way, I
I know I
mean,
kind of sprung that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no,
Oh, the
I mean-
fence, yeah, that fence again,
the fence again,
the
so,
full fence.
so we had, that one is easy to remember. So we had a person return requesting, well, originally requesting a pole fence that extended over a riparian, basically the creek, which obviously couldn't happen because we can't have, so they came back asking for 2 bridges going over the creek, in lieu of a fence on the side. However, it was problematic because a bridge is not a fence, I guess. I mean, it's very simplify it.
Right, it left
It's a
that side of the
porous-
pool
It's a
still open.
porous fence. It doesn't satisfy the requirement for fencing a pool. So,
Fences into bridges, how does that work?
it's,
Well, it didn't work and it was rejected by the.
yeah, so that's, it. I mean, it was interesting. So we had that, then we also had the country club, they had wanted to adjust their site plan, I guess it is.
They wanted to establish a site plan.
They didn't have a previous.
They did not
Oh, I
have.
did
one.
not
The
realize
country
that.
club, initiated some renovations to their club. And they did not, they took down a significant number of trees in the process in the front of the property near Lander. And there was no site plan ever submitted for that. And Paul had stopped the project when he observed the timbering that had occurred. He allowed them to proceed and finish certain, since the trees were down, certain engineering things that had to occur for stormwater management since the site was now changed. And they were required to come before the planning commission with a site plan as to what was the intention here. And they did not receive approval for their site plan. They were instructed to work with the building department and engineering on how they intended to ameliorate this fairly dramatic cutting that had occurred without any prior approval. And they were sent back to work on it.
And why were they cutting in the first place?
Go
Go
ahead. Oh, because I think they wanted to cut in pursuit of their plan. They wanted to put on a putting green in a shipping area, just, kind of close to Lander Road, part of an extension of the renovation of their course, which is obviously, that's a separate, that took place last year, last summer. But they took down a lot of trees, and I think also changed the grade in some certain spots, without any
Yeah.
approvals, and without anything, so that was
There's no
created
engineering
quite a
approval of
robust
this.
discussion, I guess I would characterize it as, and there were some community members actually who also were in attendance.
And this is captured regulatory by the tree ordinance, or
By
what's
our
it?
tree ordinance and by our institutional site plan requirements. They,
Even for just grading or,
yeah, well, this wasn't 10 trees that they took down.
Yeah.
This was a very large number. They brought into their, the credit of the institution, which is a very valued member of our Pepper Pine community. They were updating and renovating a large portion of the course, and in doing so had eliminated the existing putting and chipping greens by the repositioning of I think it was the 18th tee.
Mhm.
And this is all after the fact that I'm learning this. And they correctly identified that the club required or wanted a new chipping and putting green, and took down a significant number of trees in the front of the property, as I mentioned. And it was I think they recognize at this point that mea culpa is not going to simply be satisfactory, and they're going to have to come forward with a significant proposal for approval that how they're going to not replace at the site the trees, because it's going to be a putting green, but to otherwise deal with some balance of the number of trees and the canopy that they abruptly took down on that property. So that's what happened there.
Mhm.
Thank you, Nolan.
Thank you.
Anything, I would report back to the council. I can do it now in the context of committees, or maybe we could have even a council member report back. Why don't you report back to the council, since we're at that point in the survey? As the council knows, we established a survey establishment team, not officially a committee, I guess, but a team, to coordinate and work with the county planning commission. And Emmy's part of that team, so why don't you report to council about that?
And Mono, if I miss anything,
Oh,
if you want to
Mono's
jump
here.
in, he's
Yeah,
here
Mono's part of
also.
that team.
Yeah, we had some really good discussions with county, in putting together the survey that we'll be launching soon. There was, I felt a lot of input from all the committee members, and I really think that we have a survey that is going to let us get a really good pulse on what the community's wants, what their desires may be, what they feel that we're doing really well, what we need to work on as a city. And I'm excited to get the feedback on that. So tentatively, it sounds like it will be launching early January, which is not all that far. Has there been an official date yet, Mayor?
Second or third, that's when it is December. I just learned that today.
So hopefully everybody will participate. And I look forward to hearing what the community has to think.
Ronnie, you have anything you want to add?
No, I think the process was very thorough and professional, and they were very responsive to all the suggestions that were made. So my impression of the county team is very positive.
Yeah, I think there's a good deal of promotion of it that the committee and the council had agreed to. There'll be postcards going out to the community, there'll be signage. There's gonna be a great effort made to make it available for people to complete the survey. So it is not, I think I could fairly state for the team that it was not the intention of the team to retread ground that had already been, walked upon in the prior two surveys, but to try to broaden it and learn new information that will assist the city in addressing some of the issues that I know Mr. Newell had initiated a year ago, that Mr. LeMay had wanted regarding sidewalks, just pedestrian transport within the city. And it even broadened beyond that to other city amenities that the community either currently receives. Do they appreciate it? Do they want something more or different than what's being presented? And what else would they like to see occur? So I think it hopefully will be a valuable planning tool, and we'll see what the results are. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama.
And just for FYI, Scott is also on the team.
Yes, Scott is that. Our council members are Scott, Mono, and Emmy, and we have a community member who serves also on our road and infrastructure committee, Michelle Howard. I heard back from the county how valuable they found the county designed this site, the county planning commission, but that they found the input from the members very valuable. So thank you to them for their contributions. We'll start with Don. Tell us about the Shaker and where we stand.
The Shaker is moving along, making good progress. They have shut down between the Christmas and New Year weeks. They're basically off the site right now, because they will be gearing back up on January 3rd, so Tuesday next week. Nothing really, we had a couple instances where they've had to briefly close the road all the way, because there was a couple times when they were digging, they had some material cave in, and it wasn't safe to have cars go over that section, so there've been a couple times where they briefly had to stop traffic and redirecting it for cars.
It's a safety issue. I know it's inconvenient for people, but I know we all appreciate that they recognize when something is a hazard and they just shut it down.
Right.
So they can correct it. So,
Safety is the number one priority, and there are things out there that they found. They found an old abandoned gas line that initially they didn't know it was abandoned, it was just not marked. So there are things like that that we can't really control, but they're doing their best. I think they're pretty cautious about how they're going about their work.
listen, although it's a necessary project, we always ask a lot of our residents to live through and within a construction project. It's not easy, and it's extraordinarily inconvenient for them. They're the ones who have to do the drive around to even get home or out of their homes every day. And we try to handle their, we haven't received really a lot of concerns from people, but we do get a call now and then about someone who's frustrated with it, and we try to walk them through the process and encourage them as to what is going on. And although we don't control the construction, we always apologize for their inconvenience, and it's about all we can do. We'll get through this. So that's where that project is. Thank you. Jim, I heard it snowed when I was in New York.
Yeah, we had a rather significant snowstorm, and it was a very challenging one because of conditions. And no matter how well you prepare, you can't get prepared for all the things that happen. We did receive a few complaints, but it was mostly because we had snow standing on our streets because our salt was, it just isn't active at the low temperatures that we were incurring. So our plows, they could only push off what was, it's gonna leave a little bit there. So usually that's where the salt takes over. Well, it was so cold that the salt did not activate and it was not breaking up the streets, so we couldn't scrape off anymore. We got a lot of man hours in, and we did get, like I said, we did get a couple of complaints. Not very many, actually 3 or 4. But we trust the police officer's judgment, and if it was, they did not call us in, so they did not feel that the roads were hazardous. People just wanted them clean, totally wet, and this was not the type of snow that was going to get there. Now all this, yesterday the 24-degree temperature popped up, and boom, everything opened right up, and we pushed it all off, and our streets are clear.
Okay, well, great. I think the guys, you were giving me reports frequently during the worst of it, and I appreciate that, and I appreciated the really terrific effort that all of the service and the safety departments are making to keep the city safe and open. So thank you, both chiefs and your crews. It sounded like everyone did a great job in a very challenging moment.
We started at 3 a.m. on Friday, and they went home at midnight, Christmas Day. Well, the midnight Christmas Eve. So it was.
They had nothing.
It was a
They had
long-
nothing else to do.
Yeah, it was a long day, and it was a lot of work. But
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. How did the accident scene turn out?
Oh, yeah, one more thing. We got a water main break on Fairmount today.
Yeah.
And Cleveland Waters fixed that, but it compromised the road. So we do have Neroni coming in, a construction company, coming in tomorrow to fix the road crossing there. It is right by the Ursuline property that's on Fairmount, right at Lander, at the circle there, so at the Baseball Circle. So maybe, 300-400 feet down from the circle is where this, so we have the road closed there. And hopefully they'll get it fixed up tomorrow or Friday and get it back open for the weekend.
Well, as this thaw occurs, we have a 60-degree swing. No one should be surprised if there are more water main breaks. This is when it happens. How the accident seem?
So yeah, from a police perspective, despite the temperatures in the storm, the response times were, for the most part, unaffected, and a number of accidents were pretty consistent with a normal day and a normal storm. So it's a testament to the great job that the service department did. So thanks, Jim.
Fire get through this okay, Chief?
Yeah, we were relatively quiet on Christmas Eve day because nobody was on the road, and then Christmas was very busy. And then yesterday too, because everything thawed out. So then the pipes started opening up homes and a few businesses. Ratner had a sprinkler line break, and that just flooded the whole building. But those are all thawing out now, so.
Why does the temperature swing cause that? The pipes heave. They freeze. The underground pipes, it's a freeze thaw. When the pipe heaves, any connection then is broken essentially. That's fragile enough that it can't withstand the heat and the thaw, subsequent thaw. I don't know why a sprinkler system breaks.
The high wind, like if you have any pipes that are near an exterior wall, that high wind is really, it chills it really fast too. So normally it wouldn't be that big a deal to drop down to those 5-mile-an-hour winds, but when there's like 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds, it's just chilling it super fast.
Pipes underground then. Why would a water main break?
Well, it was attached to a hydrant. The hydrant's above ground. The hydrant is -5 degrees, and eventually that cold air can buff the line.
Okay. Well, it's a challenging weather event, so I'm glad we got through it. It sounds, we got through it pretty good. Businesses who suffered, or the homes, they don't view it that way, but as an entity, as a city, it seems that we made it through it pretty well. So that's good. All righty, council, any comment? Oh, it's me. I'm here basically simply to wish everyone a very happy new year and a successful and prosperous and healthy year ahead. So I thank everyone for all your efforts over the last year. As usual, I think we've accomplished some really good and important things for the city. I hope our newest members enjoyed the ride and the initiation. You're no longer going to be considered new members, so you've lost that excuse. And
I'm still using it, so that's.
yeah, I know, you're going to ride it all the way to the end, I know. But anyway, everyone really, I hope you all had a great Hanukkah and Christmas, and I hope we all have a safe new year ahead. So that's all I have to say this evening. Council, anything?
Just best wishes for the new year to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Any audience comments? Mr. Knapp?
Manny Knapp, South Center. Happy holidays to everybody. First comment is in regards to the budget and the budget planning process and so forth. And just wanted to congratulate everybody in regards to the city's in terrific financial shape. The city wasn't in that good of financial shape when this administration took over 10 years ago. Turned things around. We had $0 in the bank. You're to be commended for that, all the department heads and Joe in regards to putting together for all the department heads. It's very interesting to see how the budgets and the actuals came out basically right on target for the last several years. Each time the finance committee has a review and we go over where we're at to the expected expenditures, and they're right on track. And I know how difficult that is, to run an organization this size. So you're to be commended, for that on here. So right now, we're at a point, looking at the budget review in a committee and the forecast for the next 5 years going forward. It's the first time we're able to look out that far. Right now, I guess we're ending this year with $15 million, good plus the $15 million in the general fund now for this year. And with that, we're projected to be in the next 5 years to over $27 million, almost $28 million in the general fund on there. So the survey, it all kind of all ties in together now. This survey really should be a very good way for the council to know what the citizens want to do, to give to council, okay, where the city is looking for money to be expended towards on here. And I was concerned in one of the other meetings where when I asked the question about, is the survey going to be used then to develop a long-range plan for the spending of these funds? And unfortunately, the response was, no, it wasn't going to be. That was not the intent. And that was not what, from a citizen's perspective, I thought that the survey was, going to, this data was going to eventually lead to. But to me, the survey should identify them back to the city, okay, where the citizens would like to see, funds expended, on here, and how to allocate those funds. And basically, we should see a long-range plan in my mind. If we're gonna have $25 million, $25 million in the general fund, and by 2027, how the city sees to expend that money in regards to on sewer projects, on trails, on sidewalks. And it was very interesting, in the last meeting, the city identified, after going to executive session, 2 different times to buy or sell land. And no one really knew what that was in regards to the executive sessions to buy or purchase property. And in the last city council meeting, the statement was made that the city is hiring a firm to take a look at coming up with the price of the Beachbrook property. So one of the questions that I asked for to be included on the survey, and a direct question, is the citizens should be asked, do they want the city to look into purchasing property as it becomes available? And there's been no real response back from council, back from the mayor in regards to if that question is directly on the survey. And I think with the fact that the city is now basically kind of saying that we're looking at purchasing, the Beachbrook property on there in some way, getting involved in the Beachbrook property, I should say, if we're going after an appraisal for the Beachbrook property, that should be a direct question to the people on the survey. And if that direct question isn't there, I think that we should make sure that we include that on there. So again, congratulations to everybody in regards to getting us to where we're at financially. It's great to see where we're going out in the future. I think you really need to take the input from the residents on what they would like to see in regards to either sewers, in regards to trails, in regards to purchasing of the land as it becomes available on there, and take the data directly from that survey and come up with a long-range plan. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate the efforts of everybody on that.
Thank you. I just want to clarify for this council, a comment that was just made. As council's aware, this city is always engaging in planning and strategically looking at where it should go with, its asset acquisitions, its property acquisitions, its employment additions or attritions. The question that had been asked before was were our survey answers going to be part of the creation of a master plan? That's what, when I hear master plan, I think of zoning. What are we going to do with our property? That's our master plan, the zoning map. The only undeveloped property, large parcel of undeveloped property in the city is really none of it's publicly available. It's all privately held lands that already exist in different zoning districts. And we're never going to, there are certain things that we don't discuss in public sessions, as council's aware. And while some people may think they know what's going on, there's some things people think that it's not really accurate. So we can all be comfortable that we've all been doing our jobs carefully, in a thoughtful way, and we'll continue to do that in the coming year. So with that said, Richard, you have something?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, to thank everybody in the city, mayor, council, department heads, all the guys out there working till midnight blowing snow for another great year and having the city being a great place to live that it is. I would also like to, listening to the high appropriations, this city is very lucky to have the talents of Mr. Gentili, Mr. LeMay, and Mr. Naga overlooking our financial situation. I can remember a time where there weren't 3 people on council who even understood the financial statement, let alone being able to analyze it at the depth that these people do. And I would like to highlight Mr. Naga for having that ability to take very complex issues in a financial statement and very simply explain them. Because understanding the numbers is one thing, being able to translate them to the public is another one. And so that is a unique talent. And finally, my wife said, I damn well better wish everybody a happy new year, and I never forget to do that. So I wish everyone a happy new year.
Thank you, Richard. And
Thank you, Richard.
I would simply add to your comments, our newest addition to the Finance Committee this last year, Councilman Zatrek, who has provided, while she may not be a CPA or a finance expert, has provided thoughtful and excellent comment to the oversight of and execution of that committee's role over the past year. So I want to not leave her off that list of congratulations. And most of all, I want to thank the fellow in the green shirt, Mr. Brzezinski, who so carefully monitors what goes on in the finances of the city and has provided just outstanding planning for us. I rely on Joe a lot in these regards. He has brought a wealth of experience and professional talent to his task, and I think it has stood the city well of having him on board for this ride over the last year. So thank you, Mr. Brzezinski. Thank you to all the department heads who continue to do just an outstanding job for us. We're as good as the individual pieces, and together we are very strong. So I really want to thank everybody sincerely for all of your contributions. And with that, we're going to say Happy New Year, and we stand adjourned.